Well, I was not far off when I said that I was going to expand into another toolbox. I went over to our favorite place over there that sells all kinds of junk for the cheapest, lowest price every day. As much as I don't like that place, sometimes they have the cheapest thing you can afford. And I just wasn't gonna, I'm not Daddy Warbucks, so I'm not gonna go spend $500 for a 56-inch roll around tool chest. So I picked this one up. This is the kind of more modern day, I guess, equivalent of this one, if you could call it that. I got this one about 12 years ago, but this one's well on its way to being stuffed also. Got brushes there, I've got sealants, got measuring devices, rulers, tape measures, those little things, spark plug gap thing, feeler gauges, multi-purpose tool, punches, compression tester, fuel pressure tester, antifreeze checker. What's under here? Some hose. And in here we got all kinds of wrenches. Pliers, plus wrenches, a couple of adjustable wrenches. You notice this thing does not sit straight either. Hammers, punches, blades for the saw, big pry bar thingy, oil filter wrenches, torque wrench. Under here we have, Under here we have the battery charger, timing light, the Mighty vacuum pump, and that little motorized thingy I was telling you about. So it's getting there. Now I have to go through all this stuff, and I got some totes back there that are empty. I'm gonna organize all this crap in like carburetor stuff, electrical stuff, spare bearing, just everything I got here, and do that with that. So never ends. But I asked for it, I brought it on myself. I want to show you something about, you find these, mosquito on there or something there. You find these tools and things, different products that are branded with some name brand. Like that toolbox over there is a Stanley, got a Stanley name on it at least. And this is wrench here in front of me is a Bob Vila trademark. His name's trademarked. He's so famous now. Adjustable wrench. Now this came in a set that my mother bought sometime years ago. Had a tape measure, a level, a hammer, some various things in it. Pretty nice little set. She probably was overcharged for it, but the one thing in here that was absolute junk is this adjustable wrench. Now you may be wondering, how can you screw up an adjustable wrench? Well, it's easy. If you'll notice, you see that movement in the lower jaw of this thing? Now that doesn't look like it would be much, but when you're trying to break loose a nut or a bolt or whatever you're trying to use this thing on, and it's flexing around like that, there's just about no way to keep it from slipping. And that's because this little adjuster here is too far out of spec. It's real cheap. I can move it around my finger and all kinds of stuff. So you know what, Bob, you can do better than this. This thing is not worth even using. So, and that leads me to what I kind of titled this video about, is when you see brand names on things like this, like Bob Vila and Stanley, and like things on like electrical supplies, you may see batteries that have Panasonic or Polaroid or something like that. One of these is not a name brand like Duracell or Energizer or what have you, but it's something you recognize. AC Delco, I've actually seen AC Delco with little miniature, AAA, AA batteries. When you see stuff like that, what it is that company didn't make it. AC Delco didn't make those batteries. Bob Vila doesn't have a company that made this wrench. Stanley sure as heck didn't make that toolbox. You also see a lot of stuff now that's got Boss Stitch on it. Now, Stanley and Boss Stitch, at least they used to be, respected names, as long as AC Delco did too. But the thing about it is, see, they're licensing their names out to these places that build this stuff, and this is the kind of quality that you get. See, now that Stanley toolbox, I don't know, you tell me, maybe you can buy an expensive Stanley toolbox. Now that one was not expensive. That thing was less than $100. And it's you definitely can tell that. You know, it'll be okay for what I use it for, just to sit there and store tools. But compared to, you know, one of these actual good quality toolboxes, it's not even in the same league. So, you know, that's kind of what goes on. They put these famous names on here to make people think they're getting something that's really good when it's a piece of shit. It's basically what it is. I hate to use that word, but like this. So I'm not saying that everything that's got a licensed brand name on it is junk, but, you know, buyer beware. What's that word? What's those two words? Caveat emptor. Buyer beware. So don't always think that when you're buying, you know, that this will go back to AC Delco. AC Delco has long time made oil filters and air filters and spark plugs, ignition components, everything for a General Motors car. In fact, you know, it used to be just called AC. It was not no Delco on it. They merged them. It was just AC brand stuff. And, you know, people like myself that tend to like to use factory kind of equipment on our vehicles. You know, we've for years and years used AC Delco filters because that's what the factory put on. And same as like Motorcraft oil filters for Fords and Dodge, Chrysler, Plymouth, Mopar oil filters and air filters for those kind of cars. Here's the deal. They don't make those filters. AC Delco has nothing to do with those filters except they put their name on it. They let them license their name. Same with Motorcraft. Motorcraft oil filters, guys, look, I know that stuff like oil filters and oil and air filters tend to spark arguments among normally rational men, but there's not some secret manufacturing line at the Ford plant that makes those oil filters or air filters. They don't make them. You understand? They don't make them. Purelator makes most of the Motorcraft oil filters. So when you buy a Motorcraft oil filter, you're buying the name, you're buying a Purelator filter. AC Delco. Purelator may make some of the AC Delco oil filters. The rest of them are made by Champion Labs, who also make those cheapo STP filters and some of the other ones. Like all those Quaker State oil filters that Wally World puts on or used to, that's a Fram filter that's been repainted. I've seen some absolutely cheap Mopar oil filters. You can look at the ends of them and tell how cheap they are. They've got like a little stamp, you know, where the holes are in it. If it looks like it's just a thin stamped piece of metal, that's a cheapo oil filter. If it's got a thick, like a very thick, that's a better one. So, and see how that works is, when they build an automobile, well, I tell you what, guys, I have to interrupt myself. There are guys that drive around here every day, like this guy here. And I'm not making any complaints. Don't anybody gripe at me, but he's like about one of about 3 or 4 guys that come around through this neighborhood every single day picking up metal. And I imagine they're making a living at it. So kudos to them. I would too. Anyway, getting back to this and wrap this up. When they build an automobile or a truck or whatever, you know, sure, the company that produces it makes some of the components, but a lot of this stuff is outsourced. They have vendors that make their components under contract. They award a contract like for seats and stuff like that, because, you know, General Motors or Dodge or Chrysler and Ford and well, it used to be Mercury, Lincoln, you know, they don't have the capability and the space to build every single component that goes into their vehicles. Like that thermoquad carburetor there, that old 35-year-old thermoquad, however old it is. You know, that goes on a Dodge or a Chrysler. But they didn't make it. Carter Carburetor made those. You know, they put out a spec sheet and put out for bids for a 4-barrel carburetor. Carter Carburetor had the contract, and they built that carburetor, and they supplied, you know, Chrysler. It's like this is a Holley carburetor here. This is one of these old spread bores. And this was never factory equipment on a Dodge or Chrysler, but Holley, you know, this Plymouth here has a factory equipment Holley carburetor on it. So what I'm getting at is that most of the stuff that you purchase, or at least even came on your car or truck when it was new, you know, it may have a brand name on it, but that's not who made it. So just give you a little education about that. This thing is going in the scrap. It's going in the scrap metal heap back there. I've tried to use this on something. You can tell Bob ain't using this one. Bob's probably using his Mac or Matco or Craftsman tools on his stuff. See, they wrote him a check. Whoever makes this piece of crap. I said, well, Bob, if you'll let us license your name, if you license your name to us and let it put us on this cheapo wrench, we'll give you a check for umpteen thousands of dollars. And last but not least, I've been known to go over to Harbor Freight and buy tools, and I will say that I've had a lot better luck with Harbor Freight tools than you would think. But the stuff like here, this is a Pittsburgh set of pry bars with handles, and this stuff, I tell you what, it sure didn't come from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, let's put it that way. And like this thing over here, this compressor, this is a, can't see the name of it, but this is one of those Central Pneumatic. So I really have, guys. I've had better luck out of, let me see, let me find my, squeak, 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 put some brakes on it. This thing here, this meter that I got from, I think I paid close to $40 for this commercial electric meter, real nice meter, so I thought. And this son of a gun didn't even last a year, and quit. And I went over to Harbor Freight. Harbor Freight's been giving these things away now with a coupon, and got one of their Syntec meters, and that thing's been working perfectly. So, okay guys, well, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to go for a bike ride before it gets dark. I've been laying off I've been spending less time on the bike and more time at the dinner table, as you can tell, and that's going to have to change. I'm not going to quit eating as much, but I'm going to go ride the bike some more, so see if I can cut the fat. So thanks for watching and hanging around for these long videos, and I thank you for watching. The residents thank you for watching. Tune in again. Have a good one. Bye. I think that was my landlord again. He wanted by here. Dum da dum dum. See you guys. Bye.